Shabbat Shalom. I have a request. Please guard the Shabbat. Guard the Sabbath. For me, it was one of the huge game-changing commands. I felt like my wisdom in Yahuwah increased. Shabbat in, Shabbat out. I think namely because since I had the day off, I was able to have that time to read the Word, to pray, to just rest and commune with Yahuwah. It's a really big deal. And there's some siblings that I've encountered out here, and I know it can be difficult having to deal with jobs that are adding on pressure of like, okay, no, we got to have you work on the weekends and what have you. But please, guard the Sabbath. Earlier on in my walk, I had to be fired from a job because I was working with them, and they didn't ask me to work on Saturdays very often at all. And there's one event where I was like starting to learn truth, just kind of like coming along. And I was like, well, you know what? I'm not really working. So I went. It was like their first time that they asked me to work. It was a kind of one-off event. And I remember being convicted by the end of that shift. And I wasn't doing much. I was like watching kids at an event. I was working with the school, with after school program, and they were doing an event on the weekend. And I was basically just like supervising. The kids were like playing, and I can't remember what was happening. If it was like, almost like a little festival or fair. But I remember feeling convicted. I got paid for that day, it was just, and so then another event came up, maybe a month or two later, again, was unusual. And I told them, because at this point, I just kind of had been learning more, and I had to tell them, hey, you know what, I'm sorry, I can't work this event. And actually moving forward, I'm not working any Saturdays. And it's still an understanding that I have today where it's Friday sundown to Saturday sundown. So I was like, hey, and I was already off come Friday night, basically. But for working the Saturday during the daytime, it's just like, I can't work it, and I won't. And I remember talking to my supervisor, and he's like, okay, well, you're fired. Bye-bye, basically. And he was not happy about it. He didn't cuss at me or anything, but he wasn't super pleasant about it. And so hung up, and I remember just being like, wow, well, okay, Yahuwah, and I kind of just sat there in awe and was just kind of, I don't know, just kind of like, okay, well, I'm just gonna see what happens next. And I get a phone call. And it was the same guy, my former supervisor. And he's like, hey, actually, so I learned that I can't fire you, but I'm watching you because I think you're lying. And I was like, oh, okay. Well, I'm not, but okay. I've had many jobs since that one. But it did take me standing up for Shabbat, to have the boldness for every job moving forward, just like declaring up front, hey, sorry, non-negotiable, I'm not going to be working during this time period. Friday sundown to Saturday sundown, and I'll have to tell them in a way that, typical, I'm in America, so typical American peoples understand it, I'm like, I'm observing the Sabbath. I'm to not work during this time period. Hey, but 24/6, you want to book me, but that seventh day, please, people, stand up for Shabbat. There are some powerful promises regarding the Shabbat. Our master, Yahusha, he rested on Shabbat. Let's be like him. It's one of the 10 major commands. And I've kind of noticed that, if that's kind of being wrestled with, it can prevent growth. It can stunt your walk. Please stand up for Shabbat. Another thing that I want to share is that in this country currently, there are protections against religious discrimination. Most reputable companies in America right now have to abide by EEOC laws. Please take a look into it. There's already protections. I think it's from Yahuwah, protections for people guarding the Sabbath. Where a job, even if you were hired on and at first you weren't guarding, but then you started guarding and you're with that job, there's even legal protections. It's in writing. If you look up EEOC, their website, there's information there. It's accessible. The laws of the land even support it. Please guard the Shabbat. It's going to take confrontation, which I find in this walk, like, you can't walk this walk without confrontation ever. I feel like you just can't. Like, I think about Yahusha teaching in Matthew 18 regarding if you have an issue with a brother or sister, like, you got to go to them. You got to communicate. Hey, this bothered me, whatever, and go on. But please, people, guard the Shabbat. I can understand for some, like, wrestling with, like, well, when is it? Okay, get that figured out and then walk in it. I am fully convinced that Yahuwah is compassionate for where we have questions. But for what he has given us, still, persist. I'm not gonna let the person breaking Shabbat beside me in my neighbor's yard stop this message from coming out. I almost want to apologize for the background noise, but it's not on me. Just having to endure the lawlessness of this time, right here and now.